Welcome back. Today we are painting 4 super easy household plants. If you're new to watercolors, this is a great one for you because we are only using very easy strokes. And if you're not new to watercolor, this is still a fun one. Check down below for all the supplies and everything that I'm using, just in case you want to know. But you can use anything you want. If you're new here, my name is Teresa. I'm a surface pattern designer and watercolor artist. I went ahead and drew out my pots. So I have 4 pots on this page. And just draw whatever pots you want. It really doesn't matter. So this first one is just a typical terracotta pot. So I am going to use burnt sienna for that. And I'm just going to fill it in with a very light wash. Now I'm actually using Danielle Smith's transparent red oxide. This is the same exact pigment as any other burnt sienna, but they have renamed it, and honestly, transparent red oxide is evidently just a little bit different than the typical burnt sienna. It's the same pigment, but the way that it was manufactured is a little different. So Danielle Smith typically grinds theirs up much finer than the typical burnt sienna, which can make it a little more transparent. Now, I can't personally see the difference. I do like this color, but honestly, if you have burnt sienna, it's the same thing. I think you would be hard-pressed to tell the difference. Now, so I want a shadow on all of my plants on the left side. So I'm going to do them all the same. You don't have to, you could mix it up, but I just want to do them all the same. And for some reason I tend to do my shadows on the left. I don't know why. But so since there's a shadow, I'm going to drop in a deeper consistency on this left side. In fact, I want this pot to be fairly dirty, like it's gotten some of the potting soil on it, or, you know, just maybe it's an old pot and it's going to be scarred up a little bit. So I really went in with some heavy pigment there. And I'll just make sure to put a shadow under the rim of this terracotta pot. You know, and you don't have to fill with it too much. In fact, I'm probably going to do 2 or 3 layers on this. We'll just let that settle for a moment and we'll come back and revisit it in a minute. So let's go into this next pot, and I want it to be a golden yellow. So I am going to use yellow ochre. So again, this is like coloring. I'm just filling in the pot, and I placed a lot of pigment down on the left side, and because I know I want the right side to be lighter, I rinsed my brush and just put a little clean water over on the right side, and I'm just blending out that clean water with the pigment that I already had down. And we'll do the same thing. I'm just going to blend it out a little bit, add a little bit darker pieces there on the left. And I've left a little white space on both of these too. I grabbed a little sepia here because I want the shadow under the rim to be a little darker. So I'm just grabbing some sepia. Okay, that looks really good. Okay. I'm just kind of playing with it a little bit. Let's drag some more dirtiness across it. I really love using this little brush. to add some little texture. It's called a stenciled plaid. I think it's by Folk Art is what it says. I don't know. The bristles are very stiff, and I've just dabbed it in some burnt sienna, and I'll just add a little texture to the pot with it. But especially if you have like some acrylic brushes. Acrylic brushes, after you've painted with them a while, the bristles can get kind of stiff, especially if you don't clean them well. Okay, now for the foliage on this plant. This is going to be a flowering plant. So I am just going to scribble with a few different greens. This is my favorite way to paint a plant. Is just scribble it. So I'll maybe put a little olive green in here too. So I've got sap green, a little bit of olive green, and I will also add some perylene in a moment for the darker shadows, but just scribble. I'm using my really small black velvet brush. Does a really good job with this. See, just scribble. You can do it. No skill needed. And just make it any shape you want. So this is going to be kind of a vine type plant. There are several different plants like this, like a lipstick plant is one that would look like this. Kind of a vine with some blooms on it. So that's what this will be. Now I'm using Quedequidone Magenta and a little permanent rose to put some little blooms. Again, I'm just going to scribble. See? So easy. I'll just kind of move around the plant. I left a few little white spaces knowing that I was going to fill them with blooms. So you don't want solid green there, because then it's just going to be a blob. So you need to leave some white space in there. I think I want some spilling over the edge. And that transparent red oxide is light enough over on that right side that I can do that. Now I'm just adding some perylene in here for some shadows. Again, just scribble anywhere. You can put it on top of the green you've already used or not. Doesn't matter. See how that's really adding a lot of depth. All right. I think now that the pink has started drying, I can tell that it's pretty light. So we'll go back again with a little bit heavier consistency to deepen those up a bit. Oh yeah, that's better. So I'm just using some Van Dyke brown and a little touch of that transparent red oxide to make my shadow. Okay, this next plant is going to be a dragon tree. So we're going to have a little trunk and then the foliage up top. This is a super easy one to do. So I'm using a little Van Dyke brown to make the trunk, and then I will come back with some sepia to do the shadows and details on the trunk. I have a really good video on tree trunks that I'll link at the end of this video in case you would like to check that out. And I'm just going to use that same green, sap green, olive mixture that I was using before, but I'm going to use a little more sap green in it than olive. And we're just going to do some wispy leaves, just like this, just quick strokes. See, nothing special. Okay, now I'm going to grab a little bit of green gold, maybe a little more periwinkle, just to give it a little bit different color so that it's not all the same. It's not drastically different, just a little bit of different. Okay, that's all we have to do to that one. See how easy that was? I may actually add a little more on the trunk in a minute, but let's add our shadow. Okay. Yeah, a little darker, that's better. Let's darken this one up too. That dried pretty light. Okay. I'll just add a few more little scratches and little bark type textures on the trunk. Oh, okay, so I need a little bit of that pot rim in the back for that to look complete. Okay, this one, let's do a fun color. Let's do indigo. Now we're going to paint the next two pots the same exact way we painted the first two pots, adding in any kinds of textures, highlights, or shadows that you would like. Okay, in this blue pot, I'm going to put a Majestic palm. These are very common. I'm sure you've seen these before. And so it's a very full but wispy plant. So first we want to do the light colors. So all the foliage is going to just be sap green. So with this little silver brush, it's very easy to do these leaves. And we're just going to do these little strokes just like this, all the way down. And they get larger as you go further to the bottom. So we're starting out kind of small at the top, and then each one again a little bit longer and a little bit longer. And because I'm going to layer these, the ones I do first will be lighter. And then we'll come back and start doing some darker ones. Let's do, really I should have put a lighter, even lighter one over here so it's not too late. I'll try to get it just a little bit lighter. Okay. So we're leaving plenty of white space. And it's okay that you really can't see all the detail of every single stalk. I think that's where a lot of beginners, I know I did this, made the mistake of thinking that you had to see every single leaf that you painted. And really, no, you just want the idea that there's a leaf there. And if we painted all of this, then it would just be this big blob. So it's okay if it's some of the leaves come out and some of them don't. Let's add a few more right there. All right. All right, now let's go back with some a little bit darker. Okay, let's put it right here. See, I mean, how easy is that? Let's do a larger one right up here. Okay, for this last one, we're going to paint a bird's nest fern. This is super easy. First, we're going to do this little pot, and I'm just going to use that same burnt sienna or transparent red oxide, doesn't matter. And we'll just fill this in, same as we've done with the others. Now for the leaves of this plant, I am going to use my wedge brush, the smallest one that I have. Now you can use any brush, really. You could use your silver brush for this. It's just a little more difficult to do it. This brush makes this very easy. So we're going to place the tip down and then the belly and then wiggle it back and forth, just like that. Isn't that neat? And then we just keep doing that for each leaf. And you can vary the greens a little bit if you want. So I grabbed a little more deeper consistency on those two, and you can even do it in the other direction. See? It works that way too. And so I want to add just a few more like they're peeking out from the back. So after I finished, I came back to it later and decided that this little pot needed a little something extra. It was looking kind of lonely and bland to me, so I just added 2 little stripes on it. Well, thanks for joining me today. I hope you had fun with this one. And I hope to see you again in a couple of weeks.